Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I want to welcome you to Word on Fire. This is the day the Lord has made, and we're rejoicing and we're glad in it. You have joined me, your spiritual thought leader, Regina L. Stillman, and I am joined by my two beautiful bootleg sisters. And we're coming one more time to you to just share the word of God. Aren't they just beautiful? Isn't she lovely? Both of them. I tell you what, this is just a great day to be alive, and I'm excited to be here with you on today. We are carrying on with another segment of Word on Fire. I appreciate all of you that have joined us. I see you out there and want you to feel free to join in and comment, say whatever you want to say, share with us on today. Again, this is live with spiritual thought leader Regina L. Stillman and my bootleg sisters. Yes, come on in, come on in. Good to see you today. Good to see you today. Very glad to have you. I don't know who you are. If you'd like to check in so I can see your name, that would be great. Otherwise, just stay like you are and we'll keep right on talking. Yes, Joanna, good to have you today, my friend. Joanna gets all of the feeds. She doesn't miss not one. No, not one. She gets them all. I'm just so excited. Thank you for coming on in today. Today we are going to continue on Word on Fire. Isn't this word really powerful? I tell you, I
Yes.
just love every time. I was telling Sheila, hey, Dion, wonderful, wonderful, Dion. Glad to have you today. I haven't seen you, and I think you've been with us a few times. I just didn't know who you were, but thank you for coming on in, sis. I was telling Sheila the other day, I think this is some of the best Bible study I've encountered in years. I just absolutely love it. And my bootleg sisters, they keep me going. They got a good word. And Anita, I'm gonna tell you, me and Sheila were talking about you the other day, and we said, yeah, whenever you drop one of those bombs, then you purse them lips and look all around like you didn't do anything. Trying to look innocent. But you're not innocent. You drop some good bombs, I'm gonna tell you. Today we are going on the complete sayings of Jesus, chapter 19. Today we're going to be in the cornfield. We're going to talk about the Sabbath was made for man, the withered hand, the Pharisees conspiring against Jesus, the 12 ordained, and then other parables along with that. We like to give you that information on the backdrop. This is AD 28, in the year of our Lord, AD 28. Jesus is approximately the age of 31. And again, his headquarters, much of his ministry, all came out of the city of Capernaum. And so that's where we are back again on today. We're going to look at Matthew, the 12th chapter, verses 1 through 16, Mark 2:23 to 28. Chapter 3 through 11, 22, 29 verses, and then look, Luke 6, 1 to 13, and then 24 through 16. So I'm going to leave that up so you all can follow that there along with you as I read. So we're going to go right on into the word of the Lord this afternoon. It says, at that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the cornfields, and his disciples were a hungered and began, as they went, to pluck the ears of corn and to eat, rubbing them with their hands. But certain of the Pharisees said unto Jesus, behold, why do thy disciples on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? Jesus said unto them, have you never heard so much as this? What David did when he himself was hungered and had need, he and they which were with him, how they went into the house of God in the days of Abiathar, the high priest, and did take and eat the shewbread, and gave also to them which were with him, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but for the priests alone. Or have you not read in law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would have condemned the guiltless. You would not, I'm sorry, have condemned the guiltless. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. On another Sabbath, Jesus entered into the synagogue and taught. There was a man there whose right hand was withered. The scribes and Pharisees watched Jesus whether he would heal on the Sabbath day. But he knew their thoughts, and he said to them, "Rise up and stand forth in the midst." He arose and stood forth. Then said Jesus unto them, "I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath day to do good or to do evil? To save life or to kill? To save life or destroy it?" But they held their peace. And Jesus said, "What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days." When Jesus had looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, "Stretch forth thine hand." He did so, and his hand was restored whole like as the other. The Pharisees were filled with madness. They went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians what they might do to Jesus. Jesus knew it. He withdrew himself with his disciples to the sea, and he straitly charged them that they should not make him known. Jesus goeth up into a mountain and calleth unto him whom he would. And they came, and he ordained 12, whom also he named apostles, that they should be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach, and to have power to heal sicknesses, and to cast out devils. The scribe said, "He hath Beelzebub, and by the prince of the devils casteth he out the devils." Jesus said to them in the parables, "How can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil the house. Verily I say unto you, all sins shall be forgiven unto the sons of men, and blasphemies wherewithsoever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Ghost hath never forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation. Oh, that verse right there. Because they said, he hath an unclean spirit. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest. And finding none, he said, I will return into my house whence I came out. And when he cometh, he findeth it swept and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh to him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. And the people of the Lord said, amen.
Amen.
Now, needless to say, we got some passages in here today that always have a tremendous amount of controversy, or as one old mother said, controversy. Oh, but I'm telling you what, this is some power-packed information that we're going to start delving off into here today. I want us to go ahead and start right on in. We start this passage of scripture, and Jesus is teaching by parables in hopes that, the people can get the understanding of what he's saying. But first off, before we get to the parables, let's start with them walking through the cornfield. And his disciples and himself were both hungry. They were all hungry. And they went to pluck ears of corn and to eat. Now, this by itself begins to show how religious that Pharisee spirit is. You're hungry. Your body needs food. And you are up in arms because you plucked ears of corn off the stalk. And that, according to Pharisee law, and you want to understand this, God gave law, but then the Pharisees added to it. And by that, I'm saying they came up with, and this happens all the time. Well, if God said don't do X, Y, Z, then they want to try to define that to the nth degree, because no doubt somebody came along and said, well, what if? And what about this? And what about that? So in their attempt to define it with more quote unquote clarity, they just keep on adding to it. Like Uncle Jim said, when you tell a lie, add to it before you take it back. That, unfortunately, is what they did to the law. And unfortunately, it almost was a add to it before you take it back lie, because at the end of the day, this is in no wise what was intended. And I feel like this is a lot of why Jesus, in some of these scenarios that went down, was really trying to show by the examples, you all have taken this to a whole nother level, and this is not where God's heart was when he gave this directive. Y'all have just gone completely over the edge. So they go ahead and then I noticed they said they plucked, rubbed it with their hands. So I have to assume that the implied unstated is that both the plucking and the rubbing of the hands broke the law. And the Pharisees get out here. Why do your disciples? And notice this, they really weren't after the disciples, they were after Jesus. And so it was a matter of, and believe you me, as a leader and as a pastor, you can only imagine the number of times that people really wanted to throw a rock and hide their hand. They were really coming at me, but they came at me to tell me what the members did. Well, you really ain't trying to talk about the members. You're really trying to talk about my inadequacy or my lack of teaching or my whatever, the issue I discern quick, fast, and in a hurry. It really has nothing to do with me. I mean, nothing to do with the disciples and the followers. You really want to come and attack me because Jesus got some corn too. So I'm going to leave that out there because I'm going to let you all kind of jump in and whatever comes up in your spirit, in your thoughts, in your recollections regarding this particular passage. Because again, my sentiment is that Jesus, if you will, kind of walks right into some of these scenarios to show this wasn't what was intended from the beginning. This is laws and regulation that you church folk made up. That ain't where me and the Father were. That is nowhere near where we were. And I'm gonna let y'all jump in.
Go ahead, Sheila.
I was just going to say that plucking and rubbing the ears probably to get the corn silk off so they could eat them. Those they attacked because they saw those as quote unquote work. And God did say, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And in 6 days you'll work, and the seventh day you'll rest. That's true. But just like you said, the Pharisees had written literally volumes of books to define what is or is not work that can or cannot be done on the Sabbath. So basically, they are placing those minuscule rules over the needs of the people. The people were and hungered. And so the ministry to them is food.
Right.
So that is more important than your 2,500 definitions of what is work.
Come on. Neat.
I agree with it. You want so bad to make somebody else look bad that you want to go to the nth degree with all these little things. So I agree with what Sheila was saying wholeheartedly. That's why sometimes we even have the doctrines and that we have in different churches and things. And if you don't do it just like this, if you don't fold the wrap just like this, if you don't have the bread just like this or whatever, then they want to say, well, you're not really doing. As long as you're honoring what you're trying to do. And like Sheila said, the main thing about the gospel is to feed the people.
Come on.
That's the main goal of the gospel, is feeding the people. And that is what they want to do. And sometimes we want to get after the preacher, but a lot of times the preacher need to be fed too.
This is true.
So just because he's the preacher or whatever, that don't mean that the leadership does not need to be fed as well. And I think a lot of times people need to make sure that they even feed into their leadership and make sure that that leadership can be substantiated in their what they need for their body, for their wealth. for their health.
That's good. That's a good word. That's a good word. And I think a lot of times the leadership is disregarded. That they're hungry. They just the same way the disciples are hungry, they're hungry too. And it's always a matter of give me, give me, give me. What can I get? What can I get? And that is an excellent observation. And I think a lot of pastors would be cheering, clapping, and saying amen to all of that, because the truth of the matter is, like you said, a lot of times they are hungry and tired, and the people just keep pushing for more and more and more. And I think both of you have very elegantly expressed the whole reality was the people needed to be fed. They were hungry. And the same is true in the church. We can have where the people need to be fed, but then we have things like some people can attest to, they knew when they were growing up, this is probably going to be more in our generation and above, not below us. You couldn't get your clothes together on Sunday morning. You had to do all of that Saturday night, because there's no work to be done on Sunday. And then to take that to the next level, when we went out, you all know how we were when we went out to apply for a job. We just plainly tell them on the days of the week that you could work, Sunday was not one of them, because we can't work this job on the Sunday. And then ultimately you had people that needed employment that required them to work on Sunday. And so I remember times and conversations and debates in the church and Sunday school abroad, not so much necessarily with ours, but abroad, where people were like, well, my husband needs to work on a Sunday. And we keep telling them, no, baby, you need to feed those children. You need to go to work on
That's
Sunday.
right. That's
Because
right.
again, the people need to be fed naturally and spiritually. All of the different isms and schisms, even for women can't be in ministry, and you surely cannot stand in the pulpit. And y'all know, you would have thought when we were children, if you crossed that pulpit, somebody was going to pull you out dead.
That's right.
Because if you were not a preacher, you could not step in the pulpit. You couldn't put your foot in the pulpit. You couldn't put anything of your body in that pulpit, because it's the Lord's holy place. And we do all of that. But then, like he said, I said that to segue into that next portion. You all want to go all these places, but then you all will profane the holy day and say nothing. You'll do something absolutely dastardly. Can I get one more in before the day's over? You'll do something dastardly and do absolutely nothing about it. And so if you guys can speak a little bit to how do you calibrate, or how do you recover when you've come from that kind of the shoe bread? Y'all went in there and ate the shoe bread. To me, that's where my mind kind of goes with. And I remember one time somebody unwittingly used the pulpit to cross over from one side to the other side of a music. Oh, you would have thought, because the saints were having lizards. I mean, the communion table, you bet not touch it or you're going to fall down dead. I mean, it's just, as we said, there are so many things more that we add on. While I'm not saying be disrespectful and don't give reverence and whatever, but I am addressing how many times we can make up extracurricular rules and regulations to the stuff that's out there and try to bind people to that without taking note of the fact that y'all profaning the holy day altogether, and you want to worry about whether or not somebody ate a piece of bread that was reserved for the priest, and at the end of the day, everybody's hungry. So if anything on those different passages, because he covers all of those in there.
Well, when he talked about, at least when I read him talking about the priests profane the holy days, what that meant to me was that the things that the priests have to do in carrying out their ministry caused them to do what was defined as work. They had to work to do the office of the priest. You cutting up animals and burning them and carrying them and this and that and the other, that's work.
Right.
But that is a part of the ministry that God had appointed to them to do. So the fact that they worked people would see as profaning the Sabbath because they've got all of these definitions of what work is, and what they were doing is certainly work. But the thing is, this is a ministry that God has put before them to do. And so we don't even bat an eye at that. But yet somebody that's trying to do ministry, even on just a one-on-one basis, somebody comes over on a Friday and I don't have fish to eat, but I've got some roast beef. And oh, you're not supposed to eat beef on the Friday. You're supposed to only have fish.
Right.
If the person is hungry, give them what you got.
Feed them. Feed them. And it's interesting that we get so attached to that kind of stuff. And it's like, why are we so attached? And even to the point of becoming defensive and almost combative over stuff that really doesn't matter. And I love the point highlighted there, that if you really get down to it, what the priests were doing was work. But then you want to point at everybody else and say, but you can't work. But what you did, even more, rubbing the silk, rubbing the corn, plucking it off. Now that requires very minimal energy, very minimal level of work. But you'll strain at a gnat and swallow a camel, if I can bring that in. You'll say, oh, but you can't do that because da-da-da, when what you're doing is even more excessive. But when you get into that religious spirit, when you get into that religious mindset, when you get into that religious ideology, unfortunately, I have to say it's blinding. You can't see it. You can't see the forest for the trees. It just really somehow gets all blown out of proportion, where you just cannot see that me actually slaughtering, killing, and what I need to do for ministry is actually in effect way more work than you plucking a piece of corn and rubbing the silk off of it. Really. And so I think that is such a powerful Sister Harvey, did you have something that you wanted to jump in there and share?
No, I'm enjoying that, but I thought Sheila captured that very, very well, because that was the main thing, is when you want to try to dot I's and cross T's, you done crossed your own T's and blackened your own I's, because that's something that you're doing, but because it's okay. But if it's somebody else, you just want to point fingers.
Come on. And I think we need to, first and foremost, who are you to judge another man's servant? Can we start right there? Who are you? Because I don't care, at the end of the day, man looks on the outward appearance, but no, God knows the heart. He knows the heart. He knows exactly what a person is about, what their heart is about. And so why do we feel so compelled to watch and monitor our brothers and sisters so that we can make these assessments and judgments? Let us take the time, and I feel very strongly about this. Let us take the time. If we're going to talk about real ministry, help people to learn how to have a one-on-one direct relationship with God. Not the crippling, disabling, enabling, you need me to give you every nth degree of instruction and listen, let the people learn how to have a relationship with God. If God tells them whatever, let that be the rule, not the rule that you all bought from your traditions and from your church and from your background and from your baggage, because all of that doesn't necessarily apply to me. And quite frankly, I'm on the point now where I'm gonna start to say I'm so sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm not going to take it on. I'm not going to take on your baggage that you all have made up and added to. And I'm gonna go back to again what we both said, but Sheila very eloquently put it. They basically made volumes upon volumes that they added to the law. And so the Pharisees, and that's why they became the whole thing about the sect of the Pharisees, because they went, how many times when you washed your hands, did you turn over the right number of hands? If you did, if the law said 13 times and you only did 12, unclean. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And who is going to stand there and waste their time trying to count to see how many times did you turn your hands over? Or God forbid, let's take flip side of that coin, because that's also true in a lot of people's journeys today. They said 13, and then you're sitting up as the person trying to fulfill that. Now, did I do 12 or did I do that? Did I do, and sometimes we create an anxiety in people that really love the Lord, that really just want to walk with him, but they're really distracted trying to fulfill all the laws that we've given them and trying to figure out, if I messed up, I don't know if I did or not. Oh my God, I gotta. And have you guys any point of reference to what I'm saying here? Because I really feel like that flip side with this same concept is at hand as well, where people are trying so hard to fulfill all these different laws that have been placed. And I'm like, but he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. What y'all putting out there, it's neither easy or light. Anything that you want to say to that?
First of all, you got to learn how to have a relationship. Yeah, you want to lead them to have a relationship with God, but a lot of times we don't even have a relationship with each other. What I mean by that is just being nice to each other, speaking, smiling, little things that will be entreating to someone to even try to listen to what you have to say. You don't have to be instructional. A relationship is not instructional.
Come
It's
on.
not just telling you A, B, C, D, and when you get to D, there's 4 steps to D. That's not what a relationship is. Love covers a multitude of faults.
Come on.
So there's a lot of times that if they even feel like they fall short, or you feel like you fall short, then you hold them up and say, hey, okay, I'm here with you. That's what people need to have as far as a relationship. It ain't the bang bang keep on. That's not a relationship.
Come on.
But it's actually understanding and feeling that person when they're not feeling down, or the freedom to feel, to even express, I'm not feeling that right now, or I feel like I'm not, and then still having that open arm to say, look, baby, it's going to be all right. I'm still here with you and we'll go through this together. A relationship
Absolutely.
is actually feeling each other as opposed to just instruction.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
I totally agree with that. Thank you for that. I also, oftentimes I will turn the spotlight inward on myself. And growing up as we did, and yes, we had the rules, the rules, the rules. Baby,
Yeah.
if your skirt wasn't long enough, you may not testify.
Come on.
Have a seat.
Have 2 seats.
But growing and learning and living life and in relationship with the Lord, I began to ask the different question. Instead of asking, what is the rule? Now I ask, what is the need?
Come on.
That's
Because you can always find, I don't care if a person is in a straitjacket and gagged at the mouth, their eyes are covered, they can't even move. Somebody will find something wrong with what they're doing.
Always.
That's right.
So instead of trying to find the rule that you think someone may be breaking, why don't we look for the need
Come on.
that person may have and meet that?
Powerful. Both of
That's
those are great. And I can remember early on in ministry, the Lord gave me a word that I still share and I still believe. Rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Rules without relationship leads to rebellion. And I took that and I learned that because of my own experience. Because as you said, we had rules out the nose, rules out the yang yang. Every time you turned around, there was a rule for it. And after a while, when you're not relational with me and all you're doing is cramming these rules down my throat, I'm going to rebel. I'm going to start to rebel and revolt in some kind of way. Because first and foremost, let's deal with the reality of it. If you're not having a relationship with me and giving me all these rules, it feels like you don't love me.
That's right.
Now, I underscore feels like, because I feel like the people in my life that were giving us the rules loved us, but they were
Mhm.
regurgitating and pushing out the same stuff that they had been taught. But nobody taught them, like Anita said, nobody taught them how to be relational. They
Mhm.
told them how to be sanctified.
Mhm.
And not that you can't be both at the same time, but one thing we didn't have, and I think that's why some of those saints look so mad and look so, I mean, some y'all know them folk look mean. Oh my
Yeah, they
god, some
did.
of them,
Yeah, they did.
oh, I mean, like, you
Mhm.
know, I'm like, can't you smile? Can't you do
Mhm.
something? I mean, and then
Mhm.
you had those, every time they got up to testify, they were crying, they were depressed.
Amen.
Talking about the Holy Spirit is moving. Those folks are depressed, baby.
That's right. That's
So, you
right.
know, when you look at that after a while, it's like as you get older, you start again. I had to have, and I'm gonna go to this where Jesus said that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if you had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. So even for me, I had to, first and foremost, once I came into that place of the temple and I began to understand, because I mean, the rules without relationship, it will lead to rebellion, where after a while you start having resentment, you start being mad at folk and get out of my face and don't say. Now, you know, we didn't say that, honey, because Anna Marie, the hand of Anna Marie would have come from nowhere.
Mhm. Yes, Lord. Mm.
A swift backhand.
A swift one,
Mhm.
and find
Mhm.
what they say, rest sure your sin will find you out. Baby, her hand was
Mhm.
gonna find you out. So you would listen, we
Mhm.
wasn't doing all that spouting off like these young folks might
Oh
say,
no.
but we sure thought it.
Mhm.
And then you know how
Mhm.
we get in our little, in our room, in our little huddle by ourselves. We really be talking, and, and you better whisper it because you still don't want it to be overheard.
Say that. Amen. That's right.
But
That
you
is
get
right.
the sense of what I'm saying, rebellion, resentment, pushing back against, because there's no love here in the way you're presenting all of these rules and regulations. I had to even find a place, like Jesus said, when you come into this place, had you known, and there's something about knowing, there's something about coming in the knowledge and understanding. Had you known what this meant, you would have had mercy and not continue to insist that they bring you a sacrifice. Because again, for me, part of that having the knowing was to recognize they were only teaching the best that they understood, and their
Mhm.
understanding was limited. But at the same time, then as I come into my level of maturing and I begin to teach and preach, then I've got to understand rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Don't do it. So it comes back to what you said, Anita, being able to understand, you know, I'm not going to keep coming at you with all of this. I'm going to have relationship. And then Sheila, as you said, to be able to say what is needed,
Mhm.
you know, what is real. And sometimes people don't need you to say a word,
That's right.
but the
They just
law said, but the Bible said, people don't need you to say a word.
because that feels more like a whipping. That don't feel like a comforting.
Comfort. Mhm.
Comfort.
That feels like a whipping. And so a lot of times, even though we knew they loved us, we know it came out of love, but when we were hurting, and especially if it was something that was against what you think they believe, then you just kept it to yourself.
Come
Now,
on.
y'all know that's the truth. That's why you got all them preachers out there molesting them kids and ain't nobody saying nothing, because who am I going to tell? Because they're going to think I'm the sinner. That's why Jesus, when the woman, they've caught the woman with the man, all right, now who's saying he could have been raping her for all they know, but because she was the woman, they're going to throw her out. He said, well, wait a minute, what about the man? That's why y'all want to have these pregnant women get up in church and talk about, oh, I had the baby, but it was Deacon so-and-so's baby. How come he ain't standing up there? We need to make sure that we do it out of love, because that's why people are so depressed. That's
Mm-hmm.
why they so tormented when they go to church, because if they find out I made a little mistake, even if it was, oh, I didn't fast this past Friday or something like that, then I must be a sinner. We've got to stop that, because that's why people feel like I can't be saved. I can't be
Mm-hmm.
saved. because
Mhm.
I can't be like Sister Regina. I can't be strong like Sister Sheila. Child, be yourself. God is merciful in everything
Yes.
that He does. That's it.
Yes. Yes. Mercy and not sacrifice. That's a powerful word. And so Sheila, that takes you so truthfully into that. What's needed?
Mhm.
What's needed? What's really needed? And I think we want to step back within ourselves. And I'm always talking to Regina, not so much to everybody else. Uh, are you approaching this with mercy, or are you approaching this with sacrifice? People still got to lay down something on the sacrificial table to get out from under it. No, you don't. We got mercy. We got mercy over here. The Sabbath was made for the man
Yes.
and not man for the Sabbath. And I think, again, going back to what I said at the very onset, Jesus is allowing several things to be addressed head on, because somewhere along the way, in the making of the rules and the regulations and expanding thereupon, we lost the whole sight of what was the whole purpose of it. Sabbath is so that God says to man, you've labored all this time, take a rest. But y'all taking it someplace it was never even intended to go.
Mhm.
We're standing here hungry and starving, and you're going to tell me because I've got to pluck and rub, and that's considered what you've defined as work, it can't be done. So I'll just continue to starve until Monday. I mean, come on now. Come on. So we have to bring it into a clear focus. And even in that, can we not understand God made the Sabbath to show his love, not
Mhm.
legalism?
Mhm.
I'm going to say that again.
Mhm.
It was brought into existence to show God's love, not his legalism. And somehow, somewhere, some way, we get it twisted. Talk to me. Talk to me.
It's so true. And I didn't grow up in Judaism, so I don't know a lot about it, but I did have a friend who that was her background, her faith tradition. And when she explained to me some of the things that they would have to do on a Friday, because they celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday, to just get ready for Sabbath day, that was more work, more stress. I mean, down to even they would have to roll off lengths of toilet paper off the roll on Friday so that they could use them on Saturday, because
Yeah.
it was against the rules to actually pull the toilet paper off the roll.
Wow.
Yeah, you could
Wow.
have it already folded up and sitting aside and use it, but if you didn't have it already folded and set aside, you couldn't use that. You couldn't pull it off the roll on Saturday because that was work.
Somebody gonna be funky, but go ahead.
Right.
And so, I mean, like, uh, if you got a little stomach problem, you're gonna have a rough time on Saturday because you didn't pull off enough little pieces to fold up. I'm just like, no, no, we don't need to do that to people.
That's right. That's
People
right.
don't need that kind of stress. It's
Mhm.
not necessary. And more to the point, just as Jesus said, that's not what God desires.
It's not. It's not. And again, to go back to that point, and I want to keep stressing this for everybody that's been raised under the bondage of regulations and rules, or those that are currently there, whatever the case may be. Listen, God did not do it. He did not do it out of anything other than love. The design was to give you a break. That was all it was about. And somehow or another, in our twisted, Pharisaical, I gotta work, I gotta work, I gotta work, I gotta work, we twisted that thing around so badly that it's almost ludicrous. We need to pay attention. Release yourself from that bondage, because it is bondage. It is
Mhm.
bondage.
Mhm.
Anita, you made the comment about fasting, but I can remember the days and times in my young salvation as a young saint where I would have been, oh, this was Tuesday and I forgot to fast and I ate such and such. And you said you almost trying to figure out how can I get it back up out of my
Mhm.
it's just
Mhm.
that. Come on now. It's
Yeah.
not that deep. It's not that deep. We're missing the whole point in there somewhere. Sheila, I see you shaking your head.
No, I'm just agreeing.
Mhm.
I'm just like, you can get so caught up in the rules and regulation and trying to be pious. And not from any place of being hypocritical, playing games or anything else. Genuinely trying to do everything that you can. But Jesus said that's not even what the Lord requires. Matter of fact, it's not even what the Lord desires. Y'all done took it to a whole nother place. You done took it to a whole nother level and called it religion. But that's not what the Lord's requiring of you. So I appreciate you all. This is good. This is good stuff. I believe somebody put out there, this is awesome, and it's truly helping you on today. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. But you all are putting that truth out there because this is good stuff. Now, so then after, this is funny. After they already know Jesus's spirit and what kind of person he is, they knew when they saw the withered man's hand, Jesus was going to heal him. So, honey, you see all of these.
They perched.
They were perched. They were perched, sis, because they knew he was a just man. He was a good man. He wasn't going to leave this man wounded because it was the Sabbath. They already, and it really should have spoke to it. And I tell people this all the time. When people have all of the negative, dirty, filthy stuff that they're saying about you, it's really a reflection of what's within themselves. Uh-oh.
Say that.
Everybody ain't ready for that. But the Lord had to teach me that as people kept coming and daggers kept flying and folks kept lying and people kept talking, and then I'd be trying. The Lord said, no. You do not need to do or feel any kind of way, because the stuff that's coming out of their mouths that they're saying about you is really what's inside of them. It's a mirror and a reflection of them. And so while they're telling all they're saying, while they're doing all of that, they're really telling off on themselves, and there's nothing for you to be upset about.
And just like you said, they knew what he was going to do when he saw the man, because he was going to meet the need. Now, the Bible doesn't say it, but in our now situation, in our now, how we living now, it could have been some of the church folks said, brother, why don't you come over here with us? Because there's a man over here. He might be able to heal you. I know you're tired of having that limp arm. I know you're tired of having that limp hand. You know what I'm saying? So I'll come on over here with us, and we'll see. Then as soon as they did, let's see. Now the man was set up. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. The man was set up on wrong intentions.
Come on.
Now his heart was right. Yeah, I want to be healed. I want to be healed. But the spectators, like she said, they was all perched up ready. Now let's see how it's gonna do. Then as soon as he did it, bump, 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 here they come. Jumping on him and the man. Now, this is how you lose people, because no, wait a minute, I just wanted to be healed. And Jesus is like, all I want to do is meet the need. That's it. That's the simplicity of it. But you don't want to make it all this conspiracy that you had to do all in behind the scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not what it is. But yeah, that's
and check this out too. Jesus didn't even he started talking to the people because he already knew that what spirit they were of. He didn't talk to the man. He just started talking to the people because he already knew. And what did he challenge them with? He challenged them with wholesome, righteous living.
Yep.
I mean, really, he just basically said, is it wrong if somebody is, because I'm trying to challenge you at the court. Now I want to come here because, I really want to say, he says, if there's a man among you that has a sheep. No, I want to go back up. Even. I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath day to do good or to do evil? To save a life or to kill it? To save life or destroy? He just really starts giving them some really kind of, if in 2020, is it wrong for me to stand up for folks when you kneel on their knee? Take your knee and put it in. Is it the whole element of even some of the civil rights? And I'm gonna go here for a second because it's still relevant. It begins to say to all of our brothers and sisters that want to get really, really churchy and spiritual about the law. What did they do? Did they break the law? Did they? At the end of the day, when I talk to humanity, and that's what Jesus begins to appeal to them about, what kind of humanity do you have? Is it wrong? Should I save a life or should I kill on the Sabbath? We talk about the Sabbath. Y'all all hung up on the Sabbath. That's all you see is the Sabbath. But what should I do on the Sabbath? Should I do good? Should I do evil? Should I save a life? Should I kill a life? Should I save a life? Should I destroy a life? I'm really appealing to your level of humanity because you've gotten so nitpicky religious about the Sabbath. You're missing the fact that people are dying in the streets unjustly. Because I tell people, even if, and I'm gonna go here for real because I just really want to, if he committed a crime, you are not the judge, jury, and executioner. And did it really warrant a counterfeit bill? If the bill was counterfeit, does that warrant your lack of humanity to put your knee in his neck and say you did it on the Sabbath?
No.
You understand what I'm saying? It's the same type of concept. Jesus appeals to the people and starts talking to them about their humanity. And what they showed by their behavior, they didn't care. I tell people all the time, there's nothing new under the sun. They didn't care. In Jesus's day, even the woman that was taken in the very act of adultery, as you said, Anita, she could have been being raped. We don't, now since she was taken in the act, I'm going to assume she was consenting. But hey, did anybody ask her? Probably not. So at the end of the day, we get so caught up in what does Jesus show then, as he said, now, I'd rather have mercy than sacrifice. Because I'd rather be on the side of humanitarian and humane than feeling like you're justified to do a thing and killing somebody. I mean, we've got to really, in our theology, we've got to, in our spiritual inner walking with ourselves and God, have something that is able to reconcile. When all is said and done, was I humane? I don't care who it is, and I don't care what they do. Was I humane? And I'll let you all speak to that if you want to, because I know I kind of took that in another direction.
I agree with what you said. I don't really have anything to add, except that I feel like there are, in this day, certainly, people who take the name of Christian who really need to check their hearts. Because, just like I cannot watch a George Floyd in Minneapolis because that's wrong and it's inhumane. I cannot hear about immigrant women in Georgia being forced into hysterectomies against their will.
Come on.
I cannot look at children at the border being taken away from their parents and parents being separated from children. It's all about humanity. I can't look at the LA Sheriff's Department deputies who were shot while they're sitting in the car and be okay with that. It's about being humanitarian and having compassion. And if you don't have that, you can name the name of Christ all you want to, but something is wrong. Just like Paul said, you can have all of this and all of that, and you can do all of these wonders, but without love, you are a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal.
Ding, 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 ding. I'm
ding,
telling
ding,
you.
Bam, bam.
Come on, Nikki.
That was it. Ding, ding, and bam, bam.
So after he challenges them on their humanity, then he talks to the man and just tells him, stretch forth your hand. And he's healed. And I think that is a word for us, because sometimes there's that fine line and balance between not afraid to speak, but we also have to know when I'm not going to speak to you until it's time. And then I'm going to say what I need to say and I'm going to keep on moving, because we'll waste a lot of time. We'll waste a lot of energy. We'll do a whole lot that's not necessary. And we can just keep right on moving, keep right on moving, keep right on moving. You got to have a level of allowing the wisdom and the Spirit of God to let you know when, where, how much not. Because listen, some things, as my mother, y'all know, mom used to say, I ain't even gonna waste my breath.
Yeah.
And there's times when we really need to get in situations, and our spirit and our attitude toward that really needs to be, I'm not even gonna waste my breath.
That's right.
But when I need to speak to you, stretch forth your hand, and I'm going to watch and see the manifestation of it. So then I love it when it says the Pharisees were filled with madness. I love the fact that they use that word. Madness. They just went mad. They just couldn't take it. You know, and I will say this. When you start coming against that religious spirit, man, hey, Renee, love you, baby. I'm telling you, when you start talking to that religious spirit, man, they will go into a state of madness.
It will rise up.
It will rise up. I mean, just sheer madness. And they'll start talking, whether it's racism, whether it's, fill in the blank. I could go a whole lot of places. But when you start challenging that thing and you've really gone on and did your business, did your due, go on and flow, baby, it takes them plumb over the edge.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. If they were filled with mass and went forth.
Yes, and went forth.
And went forth in their madness.
But you know, when you go forth when you're mad, you pretty look more like a what? Like an animal, don't you?
Listen, like an idiot, like an imbecile, like a crazed person. I'm just telling you. And at that point, you really don't even need to say anything. Just let them look crazy. Let them look stupid. Let them sound insane. Because at the end of the day, if you listen to them and watch their behavior, it's saying everything it needs to say. You don't have to defend a thing because you can see it manifest. Because, baby, it takes them over the edge. I've seen it. They just absolutely lose their mind up in here, up in here. They just go off. And, at the end of the day, it's not because you're trying to make something with them. It's just a natural process. Because I'm telling you, the same way we see it here, it manifests itself. And straightly, Jesus just went ahead and withdrew himself because he already knew. And that's to say for some of us too, when we go through those situations, because some of you listening may be in a situation right now where you're shaking off some of this legalism and coming into another relationship level with God, and you're moving on, and people that are still in that old place and that old path, trying to hold you down. You got to know when to just go ahead and move on. He withdrew himself. He withdrew himself, and he and his disciples went out to the sea, and he told his disciples, listen, don't even make me known. But what does he do? He said, because listen, you ain't stopped nothing yet, because he goes up into the mountain. He called them to those that he called, and he ordained them 12 and said, now y'all go. Not only are you going to have to deal with me, but I have now ordained, and I'm sending forth 12 more. So what was one is now 13. Deal with that. What do you all feel about this process and how he approaches this as far as him ordaining the apostles? And he tells them, he said, now I want you to go and preach, and I want you to have power to heal the sick, and I want you to cast out devils. I love it.
Well, to me, that's just the very beginning of the I guess I would call it the evangelism of the world, because when the enemy came against him, he said, okay, I'm gonna send out 12 more. Then after he was resurrected and they began to preach Christ in Jerusalem, they, cracked down on the Christians in Jerusalem. They spread out to different places in the world, and the gospel went right with them.
Come on. You ain't gonna shut this down. Neat.
He just saying you got to be careful. Yeah, he sent out the 12 and he told them what to do. He told them to cast out the devils. But then later on, did he tell them, some of them, after they cast out that one devil, how many more did they get back? See, you got to make sure you do it right.
Come on.
Make sure you do it right. Don't sit up and think you're gonna slide. Well, I didn't quite do it that way. No. Go on and give it all up. Just go and give it all up. And when he sent them out,
and replace it with something else. It's like he said, that unclean spirit comes back. Oh, the house is clean and it's decorated. Everything's cool and it's still empty.
Come on.
So now I'm moving in and I'm calling my buddies. No, there needs to be another indwelling.
That's right.
So that when he comes back, it says no vacancy.
No vacancy. You can't move nothing up in here. I love it. Y'all teaching. So at the end of the day, I love this. You all have brought us right on up to the end of the chapter. I appreciate you because this is so rich. This is so powerful. Yes. And I love that that last statement, and you know how I like to let y'all close it out. But that last statement that you brought out, Sheila and Anita, as far as going to that issue of something worse than the first coming back in. That's not an indictment to have you all shivering and shaking and worried about, 7. But as you said, Sheila, fill it up with something else. If you find areas in your life that need to be shored up, if you find areas in your life that are lacking, if you find areas in your life, listen, get rid of whatever needs to go out, but fill it up with more good. Fill it up with something better. Don't just leave it there blank. Don't just leave it there wanting and lacking and empty. Fill it up with something even better. Yes, Jams JJ, she said it. Anita, I heard her when she said it. No vacancies here. No vacancies here. Fill yourself to the brim with the Spirit. Fill yourself to the brim with love. Fill yourself to the brim with love and mercy, not sacrifice. Yes. Mercy. Because God, we talk about God have mercy. God's saying to us, you have mercy.
That's right.
I'm going to leave it to my bootleg sisters to have your say, because we are bringing it right on up to the top of the hour. Come on with it.
Child, I'm enjoying it. That's the word. My sister gave it to me today. No vacancy here, because I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to fill it up with some love. Yeah, I'm too. Go ahead, Sheila.
No vacancy today, because I have eaten and enjoyed this word. Praise God.
I'm full. I'm full right now. So look, yeah, girl, my knees are shaking. I'm full. Yes, Jesus.
Oh, well, you heard it here today on, I started to say, yes, you OQ. You heard it here today on Word on Fire. This word is on fire. I appreciate everybody that came in the room. Listen, I want to say, yes, Jams JJ, the Spirit is real. Renee, loving my life. I appreciate you for dropping in today. It was so wonderful to have you in the midst with us. We're sending you all kinds of love, all kinds of peace, all kinds of joy. Be filled, no vacancy in any area. I decree and I declare it to all of my Facebook listeners and to Dion, Joanna, and Jams JJ. Man, I appreciate every last one of you being here today. Take that word with you today. No vacancies here. We are filled to the brim. We've got mercy. We've got love. We got everything we need. Let me tell you what we have too. We got relationship over here. Now, come on. Did I hear a key? Did I hear a key? Where's Rashida at? I need an organist.
I didn't learn how to shout without the keyboard. Hey!
Keyboard, baby. We can take it in. We can, and we're all old, so we learned how to do the chair shout too. We may not be able to stand up, but honey, we can get that chair shout on. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
We are full, my friends. I want
And
to
I
say,
thank God for the fullness. Thank God for the
for the
fullness.
fullness. No vacancy. No vacancy. We're full to the brim. We love you. We appreciate you. And as I always like to say, I want you to have peace for your journey.